and welcome again to Diecast Restos. My name is Jason and this is Matchbox's Austin 200-gallon water truck, entering the range at number 71A in 1959 before its replacement in 1964. It was introduced at the same time as a number of other military vehicles in Lesney's range, including the 68A Austin Mark II radio truck. These two models share the same cab casting of Austin's K9 military truck chassis, and I will leave a link here to my restoration of the radio truck from 1 year ago. K9s were based on Austin's Lodestar civilian commercial vehicle and were built from 1952 to 1955. Here is one formerly used as a radio truck. Unlike the 68A, this casting has a rivet post that holds a small plate beneath the cab in place. The radio truck had a separate body and chassis. The spare wheel was surprisingly difficult to prise away from its retaining bulges in the casting. Most that I've come across still have that spare wheel intact, so that says something for Lesney's build quality on this particular model. I'm highlighting here the two studs that keep it secure. With that, here are all 5 wheels, 2 axles and 2 cast metal pieces. The 71As were all painted a military olive green, including that base plate. They had silver trim applied to the headlights and also to the front bumper. When new, these models came with a Matchbox collector badge inside the box, in an attempt by Lesney to boost sales. These badges didn't have a picture of the water tanker on though, instead it featured an image of the #1 road roller, rather bizarrely. The casting had a 5-year run in the Matchbox range before it was replaced by the 71B Jeep Gladiator, a restoration you can see by clicking on the link here. Now to strip the paint. I'm going to repeat myself here from my 68A video. Just a quick run through the history of the K9. It was, as I've said, based on the Austin Lodestar truck, and its military version was produced between 1952 and 1955. It benefited from greater ground clearance and had 4-wheel drive, which the civilian version did not have. K9s were most often used as radio trucks and ambulances, but also as personnel carriers and less commonly water carriers. The Lodestar and K9 had a 4-litre 125 brake horsepower engine. The water carriers had special designations with the military. FV 16008 and 16009 were RAF and Army water carriers respectively, which could be used to supply fire appliances or to decontaminate areas where fuel spillages had occurred. The regular K9 truck weighed 3.1 tonnes, and by the 1960s they had already begun to be replaced by the lighter and more versatile Land Rover series, particularly radio trucks and field ambulances. Despite newer and more modern military vehicles entering service, the K9 remained in service until the 1980s, particularly with the British Army Reserve Forces. Here I'm giving the water truck a coat of TAMIYA Fine Surface Primer. Though it's not as intricate as the 68A radio truck, it has lots of fine details on the side compartments, with all the hinges, latches and rivets cast in. Next, I apply TAMIYA TS5 Olive Drab, my go-to choice of colour ever since my first military makeover of the Saracen personnel carrier back in August 2019. I've still got several to go, but I will show my military Matchbox altogether once the final restoration has been completed, but that's a little way off yet. Now I slot the tongue of the base into the body and then push down over the rivet post. I can then reattach completely with a 3mm M2 screw. Next I hammer the plastic wheels onto the axles, and then I push the spare wheel over the retaining studs, which is a bit fiddly. Finally, the silver trim is applied to the headlights, but not the bumper, to avoid a barrage of comments telling me I have committed the greatest sin. I learnt my lesson a year ago. Military vehicles don't have chrome trim, despite what Lesney may have done in the factory. Anyway, enough of that. Here's how the 71A Austin 200-gallon water truck looked to begin with. It had blotchy, patchy paintwork. It also had a lot of surface rust on the axles. That spare wheel was still where it should be, so that was good. But aside from the paint, it was in complete condition, meaning a nice simple disassembly followed by a reassembly. So here is how the rough canine looks now. It's had a new solid coat of the classic TS5 olive drab all over. The front has been touched up with some chrome on the headlights only, not the bumper. The plastic wheels have been refreshed with some Citadel gloss Nuln oil, as has the spare, and that has been placed back where I found it. The axles have been sanded and the ends chromed as well to make this water truck look good as new. So as ever, let me know what you think in the comments section. I always love to hear from viewers. Check out my Patreon and Instagram accounts for sneak previews of my next builds, and please subscribe and support if you can. This has been a fairly clean and straightforward restoration project, but trust me, there are some complicated customs and some diecast dilemmas to come. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.